It was the summer of 2011, and just like any other summer vacation during my schooling years, I spent it playing street cricket with my gang of 20 to 25 friends. I reside in India, and here it is pretty much the ritual to play cricket in every street, being followed for years, well, at least till recent. Now to get to that day, the weirdest day of my life. It was one such day in the summer life. I was at my 9th grade and we had a basketball tournament at 3 p.m. So I decided I would just spectate the cricket game for the day, attempting to save some energy, and you could tell my friends were pretty bummed as they were short of one man. Well, midway through the match I decided to go home and get ready, adjacent to the pitch we played cricket in. While at the shower I heard my bell ring. I went midway to check who it was and found no one at the door, and went back to showering only to get interrupted again in a few seconds. I'd go back and find no one at the door. I crossed the door with just a towel, with shampoo dripping down my face, and with my partially open eyes I checked to see if it was my friends trying to pull a prank on me, and to my surprise I found every one of them playing seriously. I'd then go back to the bathroom and this time would leave my door open. I was still convinced that it was the work of one of my friends, so as I tapped the shower on, and I was curious to know who my pranker was. Once I was done I switched on the TV and played some songs with full volume and started to eat my lunch. I just realized that the bell had been ringing continuously now and fled off to the door just to find nobody there. This time I got pissed and searched the house as to know who was there. I even climbed upstairs, the staircase is outside my door, to see if someone was hiding there, and this time again I'd leave my main door open in pursuit of the search to my pranker, and fell short in this attempt too. I found no one. As for my family, everyone was at walk, so I was the only one home, so you can imagine. And when I got to the staircase to come back to the ground floor I heard the TV channels changing, and I got freaked out, wondering if there was some robbery or some sort. I got down only to find that everything remained unaltered, just the way I left it, just that my food was getting stale. The TV, to my surprise, had the same channel. I was relieved that my "there's an intruder at my house" theory was debunked. I'd finished my food, wear my basketball attire, and locked the door from outside, and as I sat down to lace up my shoes, I see an old man staring at me from the door. From the look on our eyes you can find immense disbelief. Mine giving the look of, "Who the hell are you?" And his had the look of, "Are you seriously kidding me, son?" From the look of it, he looked like a postman, but I've never seen him before, and I've lived there long enough to know the postman around my locality. I asked him who he was and what he wanted. I wanted to shout at him for scaring me all of a sudden, but before I could let another word out he started yelling at me, and to sum it all up, apparently he's the on-duty postman substituting for someone, and he's been waiting there for the past 30 minutes. First time he rung the bell, I'd failed to notice him, and the second time I had come midway from the shower, so he decided not to bother me for a while. He thought I was showering, so I'd come sign the form and accept the post once I'm done with my bath. But I crossed the door and checked the gate, and looked around, and no one was there. I told him, in my trembling voice. He added, saying, "Yes, my son, you came almost naked and went to the streets to look at our friends, and on your way back you'd make eye contact with me, stare and leave. So I decided to wait till you were done." But minutes later I heard loud music from the hall and got furious as to how you had forgotten about me. I've had a long day and it's lunch time for me too. So I'd ring the bell continuously, and this time you'd come midway from your lunch with rice on your hands, looked at me and then went upstairs. So I was wondering if you're going to call some elder, but you didn't do so. You would come back, look at me and then go back to have your lunch. By hearing all this I was astonished and quite stunned actually. The way he explained each and every one of my move, clearly indicating that he'd been here for a while, and he also mentioned that I had made eye contact with him. I apologized sincerely and received the post letter which was addressed to me. I never get any postcards other than my school grade, so I assumed it to be a spam or advertisement. I'd safely store the post letter in the storage, send the man off and leave for my tournament as it was already getting late. During the games I couldn't help but wonder how I can miss that man. I was trying to recollect his name so that I could send him a box of sweets during the upcoming festival as an act of apology. I'd never asked for his name, but however the name on his name tag / badge appeared familiar when I was addressing him. While coming back home from the game I'd realized that the familiar name was that of my grandfather, who had passed away a few months prior to this incident. Then I started making connections with his appearance to that of my grandfather. By this time I had already forgotten how he actually looked like, as I can only get my grandfather's image in his uniform. Once I got back home I'd tell about this incident to my mom, and she was advising me to be more aware from next time and asked me about the letter. She was surprised as to who on earth would send me a letter, as it was my summer break and the exams were already over, so it couldn't be my grades, and if it was an announcement from my school, still it should have been addressed to her or my father. So I went to show her my letter, and to my shock the letter had disappeared from the storage box I had promised my mom I had kept. To this day I'm still curious as to what happened to that letter that had my name on it. Dad. Wake up, Dad. I open my eyes and discover my little son Matthew standing in the doorway of my bedroom, holding his blue teddy bear in his right hand. What's wrong, Matthew? I had a nightmare. I can't sleep, he tells me, approaching to my bed. Nightmares are just that, Matthew. They aren't real, I say then, but he merely shook his head at my words. I can't sleep. Nightmares will start again, he insists. I don't know what to answer him. Will you stay there all night? I ask him, and he nods. Don't do that, I tell him. Get in bed and try to sleep a little. I promise I'll protect you. I won't sleep, he tells me with full conviction. If you say so, good night, son. It's my only answer. As soon as he climbs the bed lying at my side, I fall asleep, and I begin to dream, having a horrible nightmare where I witness how my son is flayed alive by several figures without skin and without eyes. Dad. Wake up, Dad. The boy begs me with despair, screaming out of his lungs. I wake up startled, sweating cold. It has already dawned, but Matthew is nowhere to be seen. I look for him with desperation for each one of the corners of our house, until finally I'm able to find him in the basement. I hug him tightly, before noticing with horror that his clothes are stained with blood. The blood isn't mine. It's yours, Dad, my son tells me, with clear horror in his voice. My nightmare has become true. They marked you. What are you saying? Who has marked me? Only then, by passing near to a mirror left in that basement, I'm finally able to notice how my own shirt is stained with blood. As soon as I unbutton my shirt, the mirror reveals me a grotesque mark carved in the middle of my chest, a mark with the shape of an open eye. "The intruders have marked you, Daddy," Matthew says, with a gloomy voice. "Now all the nightmares from everyone will come true." I don't answer him anything. I just stare at the mark at my chest, unable to understand the meaning of this whole situation. "Nightmares are real, Dad. And they'll invade this world very soon, Star. The intruders are their masters asterisk." He adds, staring at me with utter despair, as if his innocent eyes were able to witness all kind of horrors existent far beyond this insignificant material realm. Throughout the 19th century, Ashford Orphanage was a place where mothers would bring their undesirable offspring, children afflicted with deformities, and a broad array of mental problems, all of them brought there to be forgotten. By the 1920s the orphanage was closed down, due to the poor conditions the children were living in, and reports suggested that the kids were also subjected to horrific abuse. According to Daniel Grover, who exposed Ashford Orphanage, he claimed all of the children were emaciated, and he had even observed some of them eating rats. I was always intrigued by the history of Ashford Orphanage. I read all of the books, and spent sleepless nights researching about it. You could say I was a little obsessed. I just had a feeling that something wasn't right, like the whole puzzle hadn't been pieced together yet. And my suspicions were proven correct, when I stumbled upon a copy of the original blueprint for the orphanage. I noticed a secret room, something I had never read about anywhere. Out of all the books and research, I had never seen one mention of a secret room in the cellar. What could be in that room? My curiosity got the better of me, and I drove the 3-hour journey to the abandoned orphanage. The orphanage appeared much larger than I expected, as I parked outside. The building had a somewhat Gothic appearance, with black stone, and 2 gargoyles perched atop the roof. I felt a strange uneasy feeling, like I could feel sadness and despair being emanated from the building itself. As I approached the door, I heard something faint. It sounded like a child crying. My heart was racing, but I continued on. After all, I was on a mission. I had to find out what was in that hidden room. I climbed in through the downstairs window, and then proceeded to make my way down into the cellar. The cellar had a damp smell to it, and the walls were covered in mold. I pulled up the blueprint on my phone, and then made my way over to the wall which was hiding the room. I noticed a breeze coming from the cracks in the brittle-looking wall. I tested the wall with a knock. It was indeed hollow. With 2 hard kicks, the wall gave in. I turned my phone's flashlight on and stepped into the pitch-black room. The smell was horrendous, like meat left to rot. That's when I saw it, the heap in the corner of the room. I thought it was piled furniture at first. But when I shone the torch on it, I was horrified. It wasn't furniture. It was the skeletal remains of children. They were all huddled up together, embracing each other tightly. Then I saw something written on the wall in a child's handwriting. It was written in chalk. I shone the torch onto it. "We are the abandoned ones. Nobody loves us.